I pray for your healing. The circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough would happen today. I pray miracles over your life in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name.
I pray for your healing.
I just thought about something. I always forget that I can do these with just my voice and not having to show my face. So I wanted to get into some things, and I was going back and reading your comments and stuff on YouTube, and it came to mind that, hey, I can still do this without showing my face. So that's even great. Oops, sorry. All right. So I was, I've had some people kind of question, like, or make remarks and, just different things, and say, like, well, why let the investigators investigate, or us armchair detectives, or whatever you want to call us. But it seems to me that we're doing more investigation and more boots on the ground and more learning. And I mean, y'all, you get some sleuthers together and we don't see something right, we gonna call it out, that's for sure, and we gonna get to the bottom of it. So people want to think that just because it's law enforcement, or just because it's the government, or just because it's such and such, whatever, it does not make what they do or say right, and it does not make it true. And so while I've been working the streets again, I kind of have a little bit more time to think and kind of do this stuff. And so I got to thinking, and I want to thank Leslie for this too. And because she's been using, if you're on TikTok side, then you see that she's been using the Chat GPT. Well, I have Gemini on my phone. So I was like, hey, you know what? Let's do this. So thank you, Leslie, for the great idea. All right. So I had asked Gemini, why does the truth matter? I mean, why does the truth matter? So in my search of Gemini, she tells me that truth matters because it forms the foundation for understanding reality, building trust, and making a sound decision. All right, so I really want to hit on this building trust and making a sound decision. Now, did Robeson County make a sound, trustworthy decision on Mica's case? No, they did not. Did the coroner on Chris's case make a trusting and sound decision on his case? No, he did not. And also, like I said in the last video that we did, I told y'all I had some breaking news, which this is so fitting to go with this one, so I'm gonna put it in this one, y'all. I'm gonna show y'all. And it says, without truth, we risk being misled. Oh, that's a good keyword right there. Our relationships suffer, and our ability to function efficiently in society is compromised. Ultimately, sorry y'all know my words, don't be wording sometimes. The pursuit of truth is essential for personal well-being and social progress. So, and then it gives a whole, like even more, which, I plan on, we'll go into more of that. But I also asked Gemini too, why does the truth matter with law enforcement? Truth is paramount in law enforcement because it's the foundation of public trust, legitimacy, and the effective functioning of the justice system. Without honesty, investigations are compromised, wrongful convictions can occur, and the public's confidence in law enforcement erodes. So, and let's see, South Carolina, specifically the Vulnerable Adult Act. Okay, so this is getting into, Chris, and my breaking news that someone had brought to my attention. So I want to say thank you, Callie from Fitz News, for letting me know this. And I kind of went into a little bit of a, I guess you say, like deeper dive, or asking Gemini questions. And so South Carolina has a law specifically for people like Chris that are vulnerable, and provides protection for adults in physical or mental conditions that impair their ability to care for themselves. Reporting abuse. Abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults can be reported to authorities, and legal action can be taken to protect the individual and prevent further harm. Abandonment. Abandonment of the disabled adult, which includes deserting them after assuming caregiving responsibilities, Susie Sloozy, is considered a form of abuse under the law. So, what we're talking about with Chris's case, when Chris passed away, allegedly, accidentally, which we know it was more than just an accident, and I personally do not think that Chris was ready to do that to himself, if you can kind of get where I'm going with this. But I do not think Chris was quite ready yet. I'm not saying that Chris did not have them thoughts, that, them thoughts didn't cross his mind, because I'm sure they did. I mean, even like Susie Sloozy said, he had a hard life. But I also believe in my heart and soul that Chris was going to fight. That Chris was not going to give up so easily, especially for his children, y'all. So, and now, so if we, okay. So if we think back, like, we didn't know, like, we knew the basics of Chris's case, but we didn't know, like, how in depth. I guess what I'm trying to say is that some of the things that we've learned now are coming together to the pieces of the information that we had then, if that makes any sense. So, but I had someone reach out to me, like I said, and they said that in South Carolina, that the law states, let me see if I can find it real quick, that way I can read it to you. I can read it to you just like it says. I just ran across some additional information I wanted to make available to you. According to South Carolina law, because Chris was a vulnerable adult, his death was supposed to be rigorously investigated. It was supposed to be reported to SLED within 24 hours, and an autopsy was supposed to be ordered. Y'all, that is some big information right there. That is huge. So not only did the coroner fail Chris, Susie, his wife, failed Chris, law enforcement failed Chris, everybody failed Chris, just like they failed Mica. There was no investigation. Susie just told him, oh yeah, whatever, it was an accident, or whatever story she decided to give that day, because like I've said, we've heard 3 different stories that I can remember off the top of my head that she told of things that happened that day. So, let's see. Alright, I think this is... Okay, this is where I was asking about, like, someone in Chris's case, if they drowned, or if something was to happen to them. So it says, in South Carolina, when a disabled adult drowns due to the negligence of another party, the laws surrounding wrongful death and premises liability come into play. Now, also remember too, remember that article that we went over where it was talking about that Chris and Susie, I guess, was like they were going against the HOA and they were fighting, and I don't know, some stuff was going on where they were trying to make it like accessible for the pool, like handicapped accessible and things, you know. So, and remember, Chris couldn't get into the pool unless someone let him in. That's something that kind of makes you think more too. But and it says here's a, oh yeah, and how if it was an accidental drowning and the HOA, the neighborhood that they lived in, was held responsible or whatever, you know, like why didn't Susie ever sue? So Susie could have got a payout for not just Chris's life insurance, but she could have also got a payout from the HOA in that neighborhood. She could have had a wrongful death or, you know, whatever kind of lawsuit, but she never did. Now, why is that? And there's something else that we questioned too, like why? Why did she, if it was their fault, or, you know, if they had any kind of liability because it wasn't handicapped accessible or whatever, you know, like why did she not sue? Well, I'll tell you why. In my opinion, it is because, okay, they were able to get it easily, you know, put on their accidental whatever, she gets her life insurance money done and over with. But if they did a lawsuit against the HOA, that means more eyes on the situation. That means that, you know, more things would be looked into, and they don't want to take that risk, you know. So we're just going to go the easy way out and just, you know, whatever. So, and let's see, here's a breakdown of the key legal aspects. Wrongful death claim, South Carolina law. South Carolina Code 15-51-10 defines wrongful death as a death caused by the wrongful act, neglect, or default of another. If a disabled adult drowns due to someone else's negligence, which that would be Susie as well, because remember, she's the one that gave him his medication. She's the one that, you know, forgot his medication and doubled up on the next day, allegedly, you know. And he supposedly fell asleep, which we can clearly see in the video that he did not. If a disabled adult drowns to someone else's negligence, inadequate supervision, unsafe premises, a wrongful death claim can be pursued by the descendants or by the deceased personal representative, executor, or administrator of the estate on behalf of the beneficiaries, like spouse, children, or parents. Okay, so Susie didn't go for the wrongful death or anything like that, because that's going to put more limelight on her and JP Diddy. And they don't want that. They don't want, you know, to know if... Well, okay, I'm jumping ahead, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay. So, pretty much, the coroner not only dropped the ball on just ruling Chris an accidental and, you know, taking Susie's word for it, but they were also supposed to report his death to SLED, and there was supposed to have been a full-blown investigation. There was supposed to have been an autopsy done of Chris. And, you know, we've heard that, you know, Susie quit feeding, bathing, doing all the things that a caretaker or even just a decent human being would do for their loved one. Like, she just completely quit. And she stopped caring for Chris. And it's just so sad that so many people law enforcement. I mean, all these higher ups that have the training and get paid to do this, and in a position to make a change and do things the right way, don't. They continue to fail victims, and I just can't wrap my head around that. And then they have the audacity to get mad at people like us for digging in and doing their job for them, investigating and finding out the answers that the family deserve, and fighting for justice that the family deserves and that these victims deserve. So I just want to get on here and do this and let y'all know the information that I got. I want to thank Leslie. I want to thank Callie and everyone else. So thank y'all so much. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday.
Surely you don't want anyone to find out the things that you have done. Surely.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday!